The Honourable Olivia Babsy Grange, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, who is here in her own right, but also representing our Prime Minister, who sends his apologies this morning. Professor the Most Honourable Sir Kenneth Hall, our former Governor General and former Principal and Executive in Residence at the Mona campus. Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, our Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies. Professor Archibald MacDonald, Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal of the Mona campus. Professor Ishin Kumbakawa, Deputy Principal. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, Ministers of State, other members of government, members of the opposition, our permanent secretaries, Professor the Most Honourable Denise Eldemeyer Shearer, Chair of the Research Days Organizing Committee, members of our executive management, members of the senior management of the Mona campus, our deans, former members of senior and executive management, our public and private sector partners, our specially invited guests, and for this I must pause and recognize the Executive Committee of UNICA, who is here celebrating their 50th anniversary. And I learned this morning that UNICA was founded by our own Sir Philip Sherlock in 1968. We want to recognize the Executive Committee and also the Rector Magnificus of the University of Curaçao, Professor Francis Delanoy. Could we recognize that group who is here? Could we just see who you are? Here you are. We also want to recognize as our specially invited guests a group of students and their faculty from the University of Costa Rica. I think you are also here. Can we see you? There you go. To our students, our members of staff, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is, as usual, my honor and my sincere pleasure to welcome you to the opening ceremony of the UWI Mona's annual Research Days activities. The 2018 Research Days is being held under the theme, Powering Development Through Partnerships in Research and Innovation, a theme which adequately captures the UWI Mona's commitment to making a positive impact on this nation and indeed this region. This theme will be central to all the presentations and displays that you will view over the next 3 days. Our intent this year is to showcase the immense scope of Mona's efforts to be a relevant regional development partner. This is the 19th staging of our annual Research Day event, which began, as most of you know, from being 1 day of celebrating Mona's research to 3 days of displays, symposia, launches, and presentations. We can never fail to remind ourselves that this very special time of showcasing our research efforts and outcomes was the brainchild of our former principal, the Most Honourable Professor Sir Kenneth Hall. Sir Kenneth, we will always have to pause to thank you for leaving this tremendous legacy. Thank you so much. This year, we have again over 100 displays in our research village and over 100 events, each of which will showcase our research and innovation in a vast number of disciplines. Our policy wall continues to highlight the stellar contribution that UWI researchers have made to the development of national, regional, and international policies. This year, we'll be looking at pioneering research in several areas of medicine, to include medical discoveries which have impacted standard of care or changed the level of care within the region. But this year's Research Days celebrations are also of special significance because this year we are 70 years old. Yes, the University of the West Indies is celebrating its 70th anniversary. And so we are not only celebrating our research, but we are using our 70th anniversary as a year of renewed commitment to enhancing every aspect of Caribbean development through research. And so, an outstanding feature this year is the UWI Mona at 70 commemorative forum this evening. This exciting forum is intended to provide a platform for an engaging discourse traversing then and now, and will feature stalwarts of the UWI, including our Vice Chancellor, our former Principal, Professor the Honourable Kenneth Hall, and Professor Emeritus Edward Baugh. Do make every effort to attend this forum. Our main public lecture this year is, as usual, a collaboration between the American Friends of Jamaica Cobb Family Foundation Lecture Series and the UWI Mona. This event will be held on Thursday at 5 p.m. in the Assembly Hall and is entitled The Journey Continues. We are proud that this year the lecture will be delivered by none other than our own principal and Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor the Honourable Archibald MacDonald. Our three-day event culminates with what has become the climax of Research Days, the honoring of our faculty who have done outstanding research at the Principal's Research Awards ceremony on Friday evening. Indeed, the next 3 days will present a unique opportunity to palpably feel the heartbeat of this institution. This is what we are about. This is how we fulfill the mission espoused in our 2017-2022 strategic plan: to advance learning, create knowledge, and foster innovation for the positive transformation of the Caribbean and the wider world. We do hope that you will find today and the days to come inspiring, exhilarating, and fulfilling as we celebrate Research Days 2018. Thank you very much. It is now my pleasure to invite Professor Archibald MacDonald to provide the welcome and offer brief remarks. Professor MacDonald.
Professor, the Most Honorable Sir Kenneth Hall and Lady Hall, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, Professor Kawa, our Deputy Principal, the Honorable Olivia Grange, our Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, and let me as our campus registrar pointed out, she should have been first in the list as she's representing our Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. So let us applaud her. Ministers of State, members of the Diplomatic Corps, other members of government, members of the opposition, Permanent Secretary, the Most Honorable Professor Dennis Eldemeyer Shearer, Chair of the Research Days Organizing Committee, our deans, members of faculty and staff, former members of senior and executive management of the University of the West Indies, our public and private sector partners, and those are extremely important to the University of the West Indies, and in particular, the Mona campus. So very special welcome to them. Other specially invited guests, our students, and other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me welcome you to the 2018 staging of the University of the West Indies Research Days. As principal, it is an honor and indeed a privilege to be able to welcome you to UWI Mona's annual signature event. It is truly a wonderful opportunity to be able to witness another year of exceptional work being placed on display by some of Jamaica's most forward-thinking researchers and innovators. Over the next 3 days, we will take you through a specially designed tour of our institution, a tour in which the best of our faculty and research community will showcase their life-changing and monumental work. Visitors will be exposed to the highest quality of research and innovation currently taking place not only in Jamaica, but in the Caribbean. Our faculty will provide detailed insight into various projects and programs that have been designed to improve the quality of life, sustainability, and welfare of Jamaica and the wider Caribbean. Paper stock. Let me just The university will highlight new perspectives and solutions that will facilitate our ability as a developing nation to transcend the barriers to socio-political and economic growth and development. It is therefore an honor to be able to welcome all of you to what will be 3 days of inspiring and innovative work by some of the Caribbean's most distinguished researchers and practitioners. As you heard from our campus registrar, the theme of this year's exposition is UWI Mona, Powering Development Through Partnership in Research and Innovation. This aptly describes what we have been doing at UWI Mona in recent years. A theme which seeks to highlight the UWI's institutional mandate of generating sustainable change and development opportunities for our future by engaging in partnerships with a wide variety of public and private actors, both locally and internationally. Here at the UWI, we believe that robust and beneficial research does not occur in a vacuum, but through the collaboration of forward-thinking minds geared towards solving a common problem. And I'm speaking slowly for emphasis. The purpose of research is problem solving, to solve problems. Gone are the days when research was done to be put on a shelf and to pat ourselves on the back. It still is important because that is how we advance in the academy, but the purpose of research is to solve problems. Over the past few years, the UWI has engaged with local and international leaders, scientific research organizations, academics, policymakers, as well as regional and international governments to find ways of addressing some of the most pressing problems facing our society. We believe that our research must drive change and must be focused on problem solving to improve the quality of life of our people, especially working people who, let me remind you, created this noble institution and continue to fund it through their tax dollars. Pardon me if I single out our well project, which now provides a reliable and cheaper source of water for our community. It is indeed, it is our hope that the drilling of the planned second well will facilitate supplying the university hospital as well as surrounding communities, which, believe it or not, continue to suffer from water lockoffs despite the more than adequate rainfall. As a research community, we believe that it is our inherent duty to produce work that will facilitate positive change for our community, work that is guided by a single mission of improving the development capabilities of our island so that we can become key players in the international system. To this end, the diversity of the projects and research on display is extraordinary and truly emphasizes our commitment as an institution to foster the development of our society through innovation and research. The possibilities for advancing research and showcasing the intellect and research capabilities of our institution seem somewhat endless with the staging of this year's Research Days. I am extremely proud and encouraged by the level of work and dedication on display as it illustrates to the rest of Jamaican society that the UWI is more than just a learning institution, but rather one which drives critical research for the betterment of our people. I would therefore like to thank Professor, the Most Honorable Denise Eldemar Shearer and her planning team for this extraordinary and painstaking effort in organizing yet another year of university's Research Days. I would also like to thank the many researchers who have worked over the past few years in making these outstanding research projects a reality. Your work on display today speaks extensively of the strength and quality of our institution. Thank you all for participating, and I am certain and I hope that you enjoy University's Research Days 2018. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Principal MacDonald. It is now my pleasure to invite our Vice Chancellor, who thankfully is in Jamaica. Vice Chancellor, you travel the globe, we know, not in Africa, not in India, but actually in Jamaica today. So we're very happy that Professor Beckles could join us, and we now invite him to bring greetings to you.
Our distinguished and now iconic minister, our distinguished principal MacDonald and deputy principal, our former principals, Professor Hall and Lady Rima, good to see you both. Former principal, Professor Leo Riney, I see her there quietly in the background as always, with our PVC Hamilton, the University Registrar. Principal Liz Longsworth of the Open Campus, good morning. All of our PVCs and the stalwarts of this university. I must make reference to the stalwarts because this 70th year will be a celebratory year, of course, celebration and reflection and of course projection, but celebration of all of those who have built this institution and who have put in the labor to make this institution the grand university it is. Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished members of state and civil society and the private sector, our special guests, our colleagues from UNICA, our rector of the University of Curacao, Professor Shearer, irrepressible Professor Shearer, who has made all of this possible, and her colleagues and our students. Very good morning, everyone. It is my task to welcome you, to bear witness and to participate in this research day, this research week moment. Mona has long had a magnificent legacy of research. All faculties have participated in this journey. There has never been any doubt about the depth and excellence of the research culture here at the Mona campus. From the very beginning, with our ancestral faculty, the Faculty of Medicine, right through now to our newest faculty, the Faculty of Sport. Our ancestral faculty, medicine, has distinguished itself in the area of community medicine, taking care of the public health of the people of the Caribbean. And now our newest faculty, the Faculty of Sport, has to do the necessary research to maintain the traditions and legacies of Usain Bolt and Shelley Ann Fraser-Price. This excellence must be sustained, and the Faculty of Sport has a remit to ensure that it is sustained. Mona has long had a community of very distinguished and responsible researchers. I know a little of this because when I joined the Faculty of Humanities here at Mona 38 years ago, I was surrounded by some very brilliant people, very distinguished researchers. There was a highly sophisticated legacy of research that was already embedded in my faculty. But it was also to be found in all faculties. In fact, in those days, back in the late 70s, I took tremendous delight in moving from faculty to faculty, participating in the research activity of all of them. Over in the Faculty of Social Science, for example, there used to be a course back then called Caribbean Economic Problems. And the late and great distinguished professor of economics, Beckford. There's only one Beckford. G. Beck would say to me, come over here by our faculty and give some seminars in economic change and economic transformation. And moving from faculty to faculty was the norm. So I had a very early sense of the depth of that research culture, and certainly in my department, then the history department, the great Elsa Gavaya used to say that this department will survive on the basis of the distinction of its research. It was one of the most powerful research academies anywhere in the world. So I feel very proud to be here speaking in this capacity, because I understood then the importance of this research culture. This is Mona's moment, indeed. There has never been an issue about the quality of research. There has never been an issue of the relevance of the research. The challenge for us has always been how to migrate this research out of the university into the private sector, into the public sector, to generate wealth, social growth, and development. We have always done our best, but the time has come for us now to do even more, to move this magnificent tradition of research out into the society where it can impact the burning issues of the day: economic growth and transformation, and social change and social justice. So the question is really one now for us, not of growing research. The challenge for us now is the application of this research to transformation and nation building. This is particularly important now that our countries are entering into the second stage of the nation building. We have done 50 years of nation building. We have made significant progress, but there are still some fundamental challenges that we all know. We now have to regroup for the second 50 years of nation building, and the university's research will be central to this second phase. And it's for this reason that we have developed a new strategic plan in which the concept of alignment of academia and its research with wealth generation, with the private sector, and of course the public sector, the issue of alignment is now at the center of this strategic plan. So, alignment, alignment, alignment. The late great Rex used to say that our research is a secret, that we proceed on the basis as if our research is a secret. it must be made public knowledge, and the public must have access to it. Importantly, this is also consistent with where we are in the development of the Caribbean economy. This is the third phase in the transformation of the Caribbean economy. If we say that in the first phase we were competitive at the level of price, the commodities, the raw materials we produced, we had a price advantage, and so we could sell our sugar and the bauxite at a price advantage. We lost that advantage in the area of price. Then we developed industries around finance and management and tourism, and we were able to compete globally at the level of quality. And so we had another 30 years of growth built around our tourism or our finance because we had quality products and we competed. That is now being eroded. This is the area and the era of history where you compete at the level of innovation. Thus the theme. This is the age of innovation, which implies research and the transformation of research into value added in our economic sectors. And so this is the universities, this is the moment. Finally, it is important also for us to bring all of this research together, not only in terms of national and regional visibility, but also international visibility. We have taken a decision that UWI, now in its 70th year, will prepare itself for international university rankings. And as you know, the universities all over the world are ranked every quarter in terms of their standing. The vast majority of the research done by UWI over the last 70 years, the vast majority of it is not visible to the world. We have heard some of it, most of it is in our archives, our libraries and so on, but it is not visible. And now everything we have done in the last 70 years must be made digitally visible to the world, so that when the global agencies are ranking our university, they will rank us on the magnificence of our research in the last 70 years. And it is phenomenal. I saw a ranking result coming out of New York recently, in which our 4 campuses are ranked separately. And we got a very moderate ranking because the campuses were ranked separately. We now have to let all of these global agencies know that we are one university, and our campuses must not be ranked separately. We are one university, and therefore the oneness of UWI must be collated and made digitally available to the world. So these are projects that we are all committed to. I wish to thank the principal and Professor Shearer for making all of this possible. Once again, please welcome and enjoy the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. Professor Ishinkumba Kawa has been our deputy principal for what seems like a very long time. It's probably 4 years. But he's a chemist at heart, and he continues to be an ardent researcher and continues to have a focus on research and ways in which we can drive research despite his new portfolio. So it's therefore my pleasure to invite him to come and speak with you for a few minutes on an overview of key ongoing research works at Mona. Please welcome Professor Kawa.
Thank you very much, Chair. As you heard from her, I was given a few minutes. And in the few minutes that I was given, I decided to share with you just a couple of things that stand out in the research. When you go to the departments and you read about the research that is being done, or you go to the literature and you look at work that is coming out of the campus, or you attend some seminars that take place all the time around the campus, 4 things are striking. One is that you're looking at a university that is becoming more and more entrepreneurial and innovative, both in dealing with its own challenges and also looking at challenges that are facing us as a nation and as a region. You're also looking at a campus that is full of researchers who are believing more and more in teamwork, working together. Those of you who were here about 2-3 years ago or so would have heard me saying that collaboration is not something we do best, but we are beginning to see that coming more and more, even in disciplines that traditionally are dominated by individualized research. But you're also seeing a campus that is focusing more and more on problem solving. And you're also looking at a campus that across its operations, academic, administrative, and technical, all focusing on obtaining data to help us sort out problems. So those are the main observations that I want to give you, and I will highlight them with just a few things, not a couple, just a few. We have work going on in the Faculty of Humanities and Education on film. Jamaica is full of experiences, all the way from crime, intrigues, love, and all kinds of music and all kinds of things. These are good things that make for good film themes. The question is, how do we translate this rich culture, some bad, some good, etc., but translate all of that into excellent movies that the rest of the world can enjoy, of course, while we transform some of the things that we think are bad. So they are doing some good work there. We also have some work taking place on how do we learn complicated scientific concepts and put them into practice, adapt them to challenges that we face in our society. We have a team of education specialists and scientists, chemists at that, young people too, who are looking at how can we teach fairly complex scientific issues that we can and obtain information that can help us to move forward. And they're using the method of learning by doing. We also have a team that is looking at TVET. Everybody wants his problems or her problems fixed in the house, in the office, in industry, and so on. But we don't have as much respect, I believe, to TVET as we should, in view of what I said. The question is therefore, how do we package and reveal TVET education in a way that reveals its utility and importance and generates interest among young people, in it. Mosquitoes continue to be a big problem for us, and there are quite a lot of efforts from the Faculty of Science and Technologies, Faculty of Medical Sciences, to try and understand it better and deal with it so that Zika, chikungunya, dengue, and other things do not plague us as much as they have done. The issue of nutrition continues to be something that is preoccupying us, but lately we have some information that says, look, we need to feed better our mothers, especially those in the childbearing age. We also need to look at the socio-economic aspects of them, and also we need to look at childhood obesity. So these are some of the work that has come in over the last year to illustrate how important nutrition across the board, is, especially to bearers of the children. Indigenous knowledge, all the knowledge that we have about medicinal plants and so on, continue to attract a lot of interest in both the Faculty of Medical Sciences and the Faculty of Medical Sciences as well. Viruses, you can't believe how many we have. Every time you look at weed, not the weed, look at weed, you're going to see some things hanging on them. Some of those are viruses, and by the last count, a certain type had about 19 of them. How can one person keep track of those, do the genetic characterization, find solutions, and so on. You need big teams, and that big team is being formed in the Biotechnology Center to deal with those viruses that are plaguing not just wheat, but they are now crossing over into our commercial crops. The role of women in the family is well known. They are quite important. In some cases, they are dominant. The question is, when you go into family-owned businesses, you don't see them. You don't see them being as dominant as they should, according to the research. And this research taking place in the Faculty of Social Sciences has identified that role of women and has suggestions on how we could actually put to advantage their seeming agility in the family, so that family businesses could benefit from their skills and so on. Children across the world are receiving considerable attention, and we are doing that, as well. Very quickly, I would want to draw your attention to not just the on climate change. We are accustomed to cursing of hurricanes. When they come, we are miserable and so on. It turns out that once the hurricane passes, the plants feel good. You see a whole lot of them. The biodiversity improves. The number of species do improve. So the question is, how can we take advantage of outcomes of those of disasters like those to look at the at biodiversity and increase our pool of plant species? I found that to be quite interesting. Finally, I would like to highlight the fact that it's not just in the academy where you have good work taking place, but also in the leadership and administrative and technical circles. You have data-seeking efforts to drive our initiatives. The principal has already indicated the beauty of the water well, that did not just come about. It took quite a bit of thinking, planning, data, analysis, etc., for it to be in existence. We have a good unit on energy management that is helping us very much to understand how we consume energy and how we can minimize that consumption, not only on campus but also across the region. We have we have two colleagues in management and in science who have come together to conceptualize a net zero energy building, which actually has now opened, and it will be providing a demonstration of how to efficiently use energy and perhaps not need energy at all. Medical education, the Vice Chancellor has already highlighted that. It continues to be our flagship program, and it is important to highlight how we are consolidating our efforts to safeguard safeguard and expand medical education on campus. And certainly when you get out of this meeting, if you look to the north, you'll see a magnificent building that did not just appear, but took a lot of planning to get the nearly $4 billion that were required to put it up without traditional support. All of that coming from efforts within the university. And we have the registry is a very large unit and does have quite a significant number of portfolios under its wing. I want to highlight the work that is being done by the registrar in collaboration with faculties to deal with at-risk students, identify them, do research to determine what's wrong with them, how can we help them, what methods should we use, etc., etc. And that effort is producing results, good results in the Faculty of Science and Technology. We have been trying to increase our student population, particularly international students. A lot of work went into determining how we can get approval from the U.S. Department of Education to take in American students. And we are happy to say, as of this year, the University of the West Indies Mona campus can take on any American student who would like to have an education at UWI with support from the federal government. So that took a lot of research, resource mobilization, and a whole lot of teamwork to organize. Our student services, that is why we're here. So those also are receiving considerable research, especially into the major attributes of teamwork, critical thinking, problem solving, etc. We are doing research to determine how these can be systematically and deliberately inculcated in our students, and also measured to determine if we are making progress in those or not, in those areas or not. The work we have done so far is extremely encouraging, and the results, I'm sure, will be published, shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, there is an enormous amount of energy, research energy on campus, cutting across academic areas, technical areas, and administrative areas. And much of that is geared towards problem solving and utilizing the power of teamwork. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kawo. We're going to give you a little break from the talking, and we're going to invite the University Chorale to come forward now as they entertain you for a few minutes. So let's hear it for the University Chorale.
become the change. For we were meant to rise. We were meant to rise. We will conquer our problems.
Let's hear it again for the University Chorale. Mr. Siobhan Williams is the Vice President, Services and Special Projects in our UWI Mona Guild of Students. It's my pleasure now to invite Siobhan to come and introduce our keynote speaker. And I do hope, right, Siobhan, you're hiding.
Good morning. The Honourable Olivia Babsy Grange, MD/CD, has had a long, productive and inspiring career as a cultural activist, developing and managing talent. She is an artist, event planner, pioneer contributor to development of reggae and dancehall in the music industry of Jamaica, Canada, and the United States, and an ardent supporter and promoter of Jamaica's creative and cultural industries. As a founding member of and director of the Jamaican Association of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, JCAP, Ms. Grange has been instrumental in introducing policies, initiatives in Jamaica to support the development of the cultural industries and advance brand Jamaica in the international market. She assisted in developing the Jamaica copyright legislation. She has been a member of the Jamaican Parliament since 1997 as the representative of the people of St. Catherine Central. She was appointed Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports in 2016. Previously, she served as Minister with responsibility for Information, Youth, Sports and Culture, Women and Gender Affairs, Entertainment, Community Development, and Special Projects between 2007 and 2011. In June 2009, she had the distinction of being appointed as the Caribbean community's first champion of culture, with responsibility for advocating, among other things, capacity building for cultural industries, cultural institutions, and individual artists. She has also served as Executive Director of Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, JCDC, Arts Officer, Institute of Jamaica, Cultural Director, West Kingston Community and Cultural Development Program, and Public Relations Officer of the West Kingston Trust. Please join me in welcoming the Honourable Miss Olivia Babsy Grange to give the keynote address.
Thank you. I I was worried it would be a very long introduction. Professor, the Most Honorable Sir Kenneth Hall, former GG, a former principal. Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies. Professor Archibald MacDonald, Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal. Professor Ishen Kumba Kawa, Deputy Principal. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, Ministers of State, Members of Parliament, members of the opposition, permanent secretaries, and I have to give my new permanent secretary a special big up. P.S. Denzel Thorpe, where are you? He's a new kid on the block in my ministry. Professor the Most Honorable Denise Eldemeyer Shearer, Chair of the Research Days Organizing Committee, members of the executive management, deans, members of faculty and staff, former members of senior and executive management, students, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to say family. Good morning. During the last 70 years, the University of the West Indies has emerged as a premier tertiary institution in the Commonwealth Caribbean. The University of the West Indies has created an environment of learning, growth, and development that emphasizes intellectual curiosity, service, leadership, and a recognition of the Caribbean states as important contributors to global growth and development. My sincerest congratulations to the many stalwarts whose invaluable contributions have shaped and continue to shape this legacy. University of the West Indies, you have campus in the Bahamas and Western Jamaica. And if you go by the energy that is displayed by Professor Beckles, collaboration have already started with China, Africa, USA, and very soon, the next 70 years, we will be all over the world. Not sure who will be here at that time to say, Babsy told you so. I anticipate and I'm confident that for the next 70 years and beyond, the University of the West Indies will play an even bigger role in developing the region, particularly with its keen embrace of research and innovation. UWI has long recognized that to stay in the game, research and innovation must be pivotal to its efforts at positioning the region for success in this ever-evolving knowledge-based global economy. And this is one of the reasons why I am particularly excited by the theme for the 2018 Research Days, powering development through partnerships in research and innovation. One of the measures of the university's success is the ability to integrate theory with practical applications for the social and economic benefit of our communities, countries, and region. The primary modality for achieving this is through partnerships and bringing research to life. UWI research contributions to Jamaica and the region's economic and social policies and processes remain unparalleled. This year's Research Days focus on a variety of issues in health, economics, climate change, alternative energy, and crime is an extension of that indomitable legacy. Permit me to mention but a few. UWI Mona's research in climate change has resulted in the recognition of its researchers in prestigious international organizations. There is Professor Anthony Chen, who was a member of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, when the Nobel Prize 2007 was awarded jointly to the IPCC and former United States Vice President Al Gore, and you should applaud. There is also Professor Michael Taylor, who was named one of the 3 coordinating leads for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC Caribbean, and other small island states, SIDS. Special report on the 1.5 degrees Celsius as a global greenhouse gas emissions target. This research has also informed Jamaican policy. It also demonstrates a key feature of research and development, that is the building of teams who work together and pass on to younger generations to build on the experience of the past while looking to the future. Social research equally plays a critical role in contributing to the development of our country. Understanding behavior and why people do the things they do is critical. This is an area of great importance to us. Great importance to us now as we tackle the crime problem. Important work by Professor Sams Vaughan on child rearing and work by Professor Ian Boxill can help us understand what contributes to deviant behavior. Culture and appreciating the constructs of culture are equally important to policies on development, and this is an area in which the university is particularly strong. Our music and other forms of culture are part of our way of life, and we need to understand how they can transfer the right message to persons. The university can help by doing research in this area, as you have all the skills here. So I congratulate the University of the West Indies for being in the vanguard of recognizing the importance of gender and including gender in their considerations. And if I could just depart a little from my speech, the bobsled team, the female, but they will medal. They're going to be on the podium after 33 years when the men started the journey. The work of the gender unit has also been valuable to government, most recently in the area of human trafficking. The foundation of the University of the West Indies, Mona's research and development legacy is strong, very strong, and needs to be kept strong. It is a development of partnerships between the university and the government, the private sector, public entities, and other stakeholders that will prove to be a key ingredient of the emergence of efficient innovation. Universities act as an important driver of economic development. University partnerships the world over produce a variety of positive spillovers. And I mentioned but a few of these spillovers. Impacting the relevance of research carried out in public institutions. Fostering the commercialization of public research and development outcomes. Streamlining processes and boosting profitability. Increasing the utilization of evidence from research to build and grow markets. Increasing the mobility of labor between public and private sectors. Improving teaching and expanding course offerings to meet industry demands. Increasing access to funding. And increasing access to empirical data from industry. I again express my confidence that the University of the West Indies will continue to avail itself to these invaluable partnerships which transcend the walls of the campus. The current administration is of the view that the transition from our current state of economic stability to growth and prosperity must be underpinned by the evolution of a robust research and innovation ecosystem. Such an ecosystem must be further bolstered with strategic partnerships between our tertiary institutions and industry. This is the critical role the University of the West Indies has played for the better part of its 70 years existence, and which we know it must and it will continue to play for us in Jamaica. The government also plays a key role in facilitating the development of our research and innovation ecosystem. As our fiscal space strengthens, we will continue to commit additional funding to research. But at this time, I'm proud to say that the government has committed 30 million over the next 3 years to fund high-quality research projects in the areas of indigenous knowledge and water research as part of Jamaica's South Africa Agreement on Scientific Technological Cooperation. Please applaud us. Ladies and gentlemen, research and development are critical to fueling innovation, national development, and economic growth. UWI Mona is leveraging its premier research capabilities to develop strategic partnerships and yield mutually beneficial outcomes. From health to waste management, to climate resilience, to crime, to poverty reduction, to youth development. The research possibilities and collaborations are endless. As we seek to cement a growth doctrine in our society, the university must ensure that its research modalities continue to enlighten and mold socio-economic policies which are readily adaptable to the needs of our society. Universities and industry have been collaborating for years, but the rise of a global knowledge economy has intensified the need for strategic partnerships that hone the competitiveness of companies, universities, and regions. The university has our support as it embarks on a metamorphic transition to ensure that it remains relevant. It has our support as it continues to anchor itself as a vital center of competence and problem solving to help tackle social challenges and drive economic growth. As I get to the end of my presentation, I just want to cite some of what I consider exciting things that are happening and certainly impacts on my ministry and the areas for which I am responsible. I understand that a special sponge has been found underwater at Port Royal by the university that is now being developed as an anti-cancer agent, and it carries the name Port Royal. For me, that is just great. I also have to recognize the fact that, Caroline Cooper isn't here, but I must tell you, I bossed her when I was managing Shabba Ranks. Because she kept coming to me and she said, I want to know more about this dancehall thing and this Shabba Ranks thing. And so I planned a workshop and I invited her and I said, tell you what, you love to write a poem and come and present it, and we put a rhythm behind it, and you can make that presentation at the seminar. She mash up the place. So I can say I boss her in the business. And then there is the work of Dr. Stanley Nye, Sonia Stanley Nye. There is the work of Donna Hope. Professor Houghton, you never see him without the camera. He has some really, really interesting photographs. Jalani with Rastafari Studies, Professor Vereen Shepherd with the new Center for Reparations. And we are getting support from the university in our recent discovery of the Taino archaeological site at White Marl. And I could go on and on and on. And Mr. Seaga's works and other prime ministers' works are up here. The Faculty of Sports and the training facilities that are established up here. I just think that it's a fantastic job that's being done, and the work is very, very relevant. Now, as I end, I just have to make reference to something a young man said last week. He said, "Why are songs the way they are degrading women and promoting violence? Psychological negatives need changing." And then the same young man went on to say, "In school, the X means wrong, yet we use the X to mark the ballot. Why not a tick?" I leave that with you. It's for you to answer. I want to just congratulate the stalwarts whose invaluable contributions have shaped and continue to shape this legacy. I want to thank Professor McDonald and Professor Beckers and Professor Denise Eldemar Shearer for inviting me to make this presentation. Thank you very much.
Can I ask Adrian Gentles, Chancellor Hall Chairman, to come forward to make a presentation to the Honourable Babsy Grange, as we thank her for those words. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the students, distinguished guests, and specially invited guests, we would like to say thank you to Miss Olivia Babsy Grange, CD MP, for coming here today and speaking to us about her history and the university's history and research. Now, as she stated before, I wish I am here in the next 70 years to say Babsy told us so. And on that note, I would like to make this lovely presentation, and hopefully we'll meet again sometime before the 70 years to say again, Babsy told us so.
Oh, really? Spanish now? Very good. Mike Henry told me he will be around.
Well, by then I guess angels will be walking the land, won't they? Thank you so much, Minister Grange, for your words to us this morning. I think I just recognized our former Chief Justice, Zayla McCullough. Thank you so much. Let's hear it for our former Chief Justice. We're going to be hearing from the University Chorale, after which I'm going to invite our Professor Denise Eldemar Shearer to bring the vote of thanks. So it's the, sorry, Professor Shearer? Oh, it's Panorhythm. Sorry, Panorhythm. I think they're way over there. I could use a dancehall tune to catch them, but I didn't want to perform that. Okay, then. So, Panorhythm, we're ready for you. We're ready for you. I see them looking over. Right, I think they heard. So we could clap them in, Panorhythm.
know we could listen to them all day, and I suspect, led by the registrar here, there were those who wanted to get up out of their seats. We have come to, I don't know whether to say the end of this function or the start of the 3 days, but I need to thank VC. Thank you, sir, for being with us and for sharing. I want to thank the principal, and I need to thank the principal in many ways for being here today, but also for his tremendous support of Research Day, his leadership of the steering committee. Unless you think that he's not the leader, things like this need financial support, right, Mr. Logan? I can't do anything I do without the principal's signature. Thank you, Principal, for believing in Research Day. And I know that Sir Ken shares that thought that this baby that is about to become an adult at 2021 has in fact grown. To members of the steering committee, this has been a journey that started last July. This year, I suspect we will move back into the next one quickly, but I want to thank the steering committee, and in particular, Dr. Arlene Bailey and Dr. Olivine Burr. The faculty leads and the deans, and I want us all, don't our university students look fantastic there in their red jackets? Thank you for making us proud at UE 70 and for ensuring for Minister Grange that you will be around in 70 years' time to say Babsy told us so. I have intentionally left the minister till the last because I think that I wanted to end on that, because I think, Minister, that you brought a dimension that I suspect both principal and VC were saying yes, because so often we focus on development as economic development and we don't remember the social fabric, and certainly for you, the cultural fabric. And there are some of us that knew you in the days of Shabba Ranks and Carleen Davis. Thank you, Minister, for always being there for us, even quietly, and for ensuring that activities such as these are recognized. And finally, the media. Thank you. Research Day is about getting out the message of UWI and what we do, that we're not the best kept secret. I keep hearing we're the best kept secret. Sir Hillary heard it from Rex Nettlefoot. I have heard it from prime ministers that we are the best kept secret. It is up to you, our academics, to ensure that we are no longer a secret. Gone are the days when we keep our achievements quiet and behave, you know, in this circumspect way. It's time to shout it from the mountaintops. Thank you all for coming, and I invite you, after I have led the principal's tour and Dr. Bailey has led the thing, I'm now going to ask the registrar to bring us her closing remarks.
And sometimes with the vote of thanks, we don't thank the voter of the thanks. So we want to especially recognize Professor the Honourable Denise Eldemar-Scherer. At this point, she has led the team remarkably well. And I'll tell you something, she starts like, she's going to start now for next year. You know, I'll hear the calls and she'll begin putting the team together. So thank you so much for the work that you have done, Professor Scherer, and we will see the outcome of it and the output of it over the next few days. My closing remarks is just to say thank you for being here and to guide you through the next steps. So as we bring this to a close, Professor Scherer and Dr. Bailey will lead our guests on the platform in different ways to the tour which we call the Principal's Tour. They will be followed by the deans right behind the Principal's Party. Once the Principal's Party, and we're going all the way down the aisle and to the right, so once the Principal's Party reaches into the tent, our team of ushers and guides will take you through the exhibitions. So we thank you very much for being here. We look forward to seeing you at as many of the events as you possibly can, and we look forward again to have Research Days 2018 to be even more successful than our Research Days in the past. Have a very good morning and enjoy the day. Thank you.